appreciate seeing so many friendly faces out in the audience today. My name is Charlotte Fagan, and I'm the International Programs Director at Bikes Not Bombs. Really happy to be here tonight to introduce Carlos and Gwen at our final event of this Advancing Pedal Power Technology Tour. It has been 6 weeks of travel across 3 countries. In the last 6 weeks, Carlos has built 14 bicimaquinas at different groups. He has spoken at over 30, given presentations at over 30 locations. And I really want to thank Carlos for all that he has done in the last 6 weeks, traveling all over the place. I sort of put him through like a really grueling travel schedule that I didn't really realize how difficult that was going to be until it started. But he, especially for those of you who know Carlos personally, he is just such a positive force in the world. And so, of course, he took what was sort of a difficult and grueling schedule and just made the best of it, and could not have been more positive and wonderful the entire time. So I really want to thank you. Y quiero agradecerte por todo lo que has hecho durante estas semanas y tu actitud muy positiva dentro de un viaje medio duro. I also want to thank Carlos because it's really because of Carlos that I work at Bikes Not Bombs. I had been working with Bici Tec, finishing up a fellowship year of studying women's bicycle movements, and I was at Bici Tec working there. I had no idea what I was going to do when my fellowship ended 6 weeks later. And then I was talking with David Brannigan, who's the former International Programs Director at Bikes Not Bombs, and he sent me an email and said, oh, we have this job opening up, you should really apply for it. So it's because of Carlos and working with him that I'm really here today. So it's really wonderful to be able to host him here in the US after he has hosted me a couple of times in Iztapa. So, in the last week, I've spent a lot of time thinking about Bikes Not Bombs, more so than I probably have even since I started working at Bikes Not Bombs, and really thinking philosophically about who we are as an organization and what it means when we say that we use the bicycle as a vehicle for social change, and what it means to us when we say that we are a social justice organization, and how relevant that feels right now and how important that is. And we often say that we work to build a more just, peaceful, and sustainable world, both locally and internationally. And it feels like that work right now is more important than ever. And so it's really wonderful to see a community of people here tonight who I know support that vision and are also working towards that. So I want to really thank you all for being here tonight and for all that you're doing to try to build that world as well. And one of the things I love about Bikes Not Bombs is that we say that it's about the bicycle, but it's kind of not about the bicycle. It's about a lot more than just the bicycle. And that we use the bicycle to, we say it's a vehicle for social change. And tonight we're going to hear about how we use bicycles in a way that to make them into machines. Like we can really literally using bicycles for other things. But it's also about the work that we do locally in our youth programs, employing young people to teach other young people about bicycle mechanics, employing young people to organize politically and to define what campaigns are really important to them in their community. It happens at our bike shop as we provide really important transportation needs to people who need them, both people who can afford to buy bicycles from us and people who want to earn them through our adult Earn a Bike program. And it happens in the last 32 years as we've shipped over 65,000 bicycles to different partner organizations in the global south. And so it gives me great pleasure today to have Carlos here because it's really not that often that we get to have our international partners here in Boston with us. In fact, I see quite a few people who were here on Sunday who helped us load a container full of 540 bicycles to Carlos. I don't think I've ever, it's great to be at a container loading when you load to your own partner so that you see them super excited and happy running around the warehouse of all of the things that they get to pick out to put inside the container. And so that was like a really fun process to be a part of. And for all of those of you who were there on Sunday, thank you for coming and helping to once again pack another container for us. So I guess I will briefly talk about our relationship with Bici Tec. So Carlos Marroquin, the reason why we are all here tonight, he's been working making pedal-powered machines for 20 years. For about 15 years, he worked with a nonprofit organization called Maya Pedal that many of you maybe have volunteered with or visited before. 4 years ago, he decided that he wanted to start something different, that he wanted to start a social enterprise, he wanted to work with his family, and he wanted to start a school. And so 4 years ago, when he decided that that's what his vision was, and he was really clear in his vision of what he wanted to do, he approached Bikes Not Bombs and said, will you please help me do this? So we've been working with Carlos for the last 4 years. And in those 4 years, our support kind of comes in 3 different ways. One is sort of the backbone of all of our support for our international partners, which is containers full of bicycles and spare parts. It's a really important part of what we do. So that's one part of it. In the last few years, we've been providing scholarships for Global South students to attend the Bici Tec School of Appropriate Bici Technology, so that students from all over the world can learn about how to make these machines and bring it back to their home communities. And then, as with all of our partners, we also provide technical assistance, trying to help our partners realize their vision of what they want their organization to achieve. So with Bici Tec, that has meant helping setting up accounting and bookkeeping systems and starting a Facebook page and about everything in between those two things. Carlos has been an amazing partner to Bike Snap Bombs during this time, such a positive and amazing person to work with, and I'm really grateful that he is here and happy that you are all here to join us with that. Another great friend of Bike Snap Bombs is Quinn Jones. Gwen is a longtime DMV supporter and volunteer. He founded the Cycles Venture class at D-Lab and is a D-Lab instructor. He's someone who I greatly admire, and I'm really happy to welcome him here tonight.
Thank you, Charlotte. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. I'm Quinn Jones. I've been with D-Lab since 2005. Early in 2005, I was looking for volunteer opportunities, and I heard Amy Smith on the radio. Amy's the founder of D-Lab. And I tracked her down, and I found her talk she was giving, and afterwards I approached her, and I said I'd like to think about being involved in. The first question she asked me was whether I spoke Spanish. And my heart sank because I didn't speak Spanish. And so then her next question was whether I knew anything about bicycles. And I felt better because I had co-founded a titanium bicycle company in 1986. And so I had a good answer for that question. And it's really been a great thing for me to be involved at D-Lab since then. The thing that I didn't know was that day, Amy and some students had started to put together a connection with a partner in Guatemala, and that made remarkable pedal-powered farm machines out of bicycles. And of course, I didn't know then that the person behind those machines was Carlos Marroquin. We've worked together both here and in Guatemala. Now, starting, I was there several times a year for 3 or 4 years. And I've learned a tremendous amount from Carlos, from working with Carlos. A couple different kinds of things, really. The first thing is that sort of basic practical knowledge. When I was first there with Carlos, one of his apprentices was trying to replace the bearings in the bottom bracket of a bicycle. He took it apart. The bike was really rusty. One of the bearing races was stuck. I mean, really stuck in the frame, and the guy hammered on it, and pretty soon the edges were rounded off, and there was nothing to hold on to. He pointed out to Carlos. In about 2 minutes, Carlos took a piece of rebar, welded it to the cup, about 4 inches long, welded it to the cup, hit it with a hammer, and of course he was able to hold on to it because the rebar was sticking out. But the subtle part of that was that the thermal shock from the welding really broke the rust free, and the cup was in his hand really in a couple minutes. So, and that kind of thing happens around Carlos all the time. Just remarkable practical stuff. The more significant thing for me is I've learned from opportunities I've had to watch Carlos building a prototype or something he's never built before. When we start here, or we teach our students, we tend to teach them to plan things, to make drawings, to look up their supplies, to do some calculations about anything that might be critical. That's not what Carlos does. I'm sure Carlos thinks. I'm sure he's planning in his head. But it's not apparent, and there's no planning stage in the process. He really starts with some element of the machine, and it kind of grows. And he does one thing, he does the next thing, and then the third thing kind of fits in. And pretty soon you see that you're coming up with something that you really wouldn't have come up with if you drew it out. And sometimes he tries something that doesn't work, and he changes it, or he discards it. The process is really interesting. It just kind of flows along as if it was really well planned. And the thing works at the end of the process. But what's really what really gets my attention is afterwards, in retrospect, it's as if there was it's a little like looking back at evolution. There's a sort of emergent element to it that you just simply can't get from drawing something and then building it. I mean, after many prototypes, you can evolve something, but it sort of happens in real time, right in front of you. So I owe a huge amount to Carlos. I always try to imitate him when I'm building something. He's also worked with many students, Jess Vechikol and Radu Raduda in the beginning in 2005, Alex Yip, Roberto Melendez, Ta Corrales Sanchez more recently, and many, many others over the years. In 2007 and 2008, we had Carlos here for some international conferences, our IDDS conferences, and Carlos has worked with many people from around the world at those conferences, most notably a Tanzanian electrician and bicycle mechanic who came, and he knew Carlos, but Carlos speaks Spanish and Quechua, and Bernard speaks English and Swahili, and so the technical details remain shrouded until Carlos gave a slideshow of his machines at Bikes Not Bombs, actually, and it wasn't clear what was going on, but when we got back to MIT, we'd actually lost Bernard Cuia. And we managed to retrieve him, but his head was so full of machines that he didn't get back on the bus, basically. And but he went home and he designed a whole bunch of other machines just from that one presentation of Carlos's. So I'm going to now turn it over to my friend Carlos, who is going to talk a little more about what he does. Thank you.
Ahí está. ¿Dónde? Así.
We're just getting my phone back.
Antes que nada, muy buenas noches.
Before anything, good evening, everybody.
Muchas gracias. Yo solo quisiera que, antes de iniciar mi presentación, pues, todos nos pusiéramos de pie.
So before I start my presentation, I'd like us all to stand up.
En primer lugar, pues quiero agradecer, lo hago a mi manera, quiero agradecerle a Dios por esta oportunidad que me da, porque aparte de ser una persona humilde, también Dios me ha dado la oportunidad de poder sembrar una semilla en este mundo y también poderles decir a ustedes que cada quien reflexionemos un minuto para pedir por la paz del mundo, por las madres que están solteras, por los niños que se han quedado desamparados, por las guerras que estamos causando, por la contaminación de nuestro planeta, por el calentamiento global que tenemos y qué podemos hacer por eso.
So I'm going to start by doing this in my way of doing things, but I want everybody to feel comfortable to do it in your own way. That you want to talk about, to thank God for this opportunity of being here today, and that he feels very fortunate that he's a simple person, but that God has given him this ability and this ability to teach others and to plant the seed in other people. He wants us to take a minute to reflect about world peace, to think about families that woke up today hungry, to think about the wars that we are fighting in the world right now, the contamination of our planet and global warming, and that he is now going to say a prayer. I'm not going to translate the prayer directly, but that we all take this time to reflect about doing to fight these things.
Y solo les pido de que cerremos un minuto nuestros ojos para tener esa conciencia de ver qué podemos pedir para la paz del mundo y para la paz de nuestro cuerpo y principalmente para el planeta. Es que vamos a ponerlo de la manera que creamos conveniente cada quien.
So for this minute, let's all close our eyes and think about world peace and what we're doing for the world, both sort of internal peace and external peace.
Yo lo hago de la siguiente manera. Señor, no soy digno de ti, Padre Celestial. Te pido también por estas familias, Padre mío, que hoy están aquí presentes. También te pido, Señor, por todas esas madres que hoy no les amaneció nada de qué comer, por los niños desamparados, por los gobernantes, Padre mío, para que tengan la sabiduría de poder guiar este mundo. Te pedimos también, Padre Celestial, por todas aquellas personas que hoy están en los hospitales, por aquellos que están presos, también por aquellos que tienen malos pensamientos, que tu Señor los guíes para que nos den unos buenos pensamientos, que puedan guiar al mundo, Señor. Te pido encarecidamente, Madre Santísima, principalmente por mi familia, te pido por mi corazón para que tú seas la que me guíes y me fortalezcas. Te pido, Señor, que en esta ocasión que estoy aquí, que tú seas el que me guíes, que tú seas el que me prometas que pueda cumplir con lo que tú me has demandado, Señor. Te agradezco, Padre Celestial. Amén. Muchas gracias. Pueden sentarse, disculpe.
You can sit now.
Bueno, como decía, buenas noches. Pues mi nombre es Carlos Enrique Marroquin. Vengo de lo que es un pueblo indígena que se llama San Andrés Itzapa.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Carlos Marroquin Macha, and I come from the indigenous village of San Andrés Izapa.
Pues quiero comentarles un poquito de por qué nace lo que es la idea de la tecnología. Al principio, pues nosotros, cuando fue el conflicto armado interno, pues quedaron muchas familias sin escasos recursos. También quedaron los ancianos, más que todo los padres de familia, a veces con deficiencia, y también que la economía de nuestro país no era la mayor y también que no contaban ni siquiera con los servicios esenciales de esas familias.
So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about how the concept of Bici technology started. And so it really was born out of the destruction of the civil war in Guatemala. And there were a lot of families that after the war didn't, a lot of fathers of families who died, and a lot of grandparents who died, a lot of amputees from the war, and families that didn't have the economic resources that they needed in their families. and a lot of areas of the country that the whole economy of the country was really destroyed, and a lot of areas of the country that didn't have essential services like potable, drinkable water and electricity.
Pues al principio se buscaba un mecanismo de ver cómo podíamos ayudar directamente a las familias, porque sabíamos que por nuestra cultura y las tradiciones, pues el trabajo es muy arduo, principalmente para lo que es la agricultura.
And so we started to think about how can we help these families. And it started, and this is why there's a picture of corn up here, trying to figure out how we could do that still functioning within our culture and within our traditions. Because in thinking really about agriculture and how difficult agriculture can be.
Tenemos, por ejemplo, esto. Por ejemplo, si vamos a desgranar lo que es unas 10 libras de maíz, necesitamos de 10 a 15 minutos para poder desgranar. Entonces vemos y el sacrificio que hace, pues, principalmente la mujer, porque la mujer es la que tiene que desgranar, ¿verdad? Por la cultura, pues ella no puede subirse a una bicicleta.
And so, to take, for example, dekerneling corn. Dekerneling, if you're going to dekernel 10 pounds of corn, it might take you 20, 25 minutes. And this work is principally done by the woman, and it's really difficult physical work.
Y vimos también que hicimos un análisis que cuando una familia, por ejemplo, quiere vender su maíz, en este caso vemos esta cantidad de maíz, para poder desgranar esta cantidad de maíz se necesitaban 8 horas de trabajo diarios aporreados y también 8 días para poder terminar de cosechar todo lo que era el maíz.
So we did an analysis with families that if they wanted to sell some of their harvest of corn, that it would take them 8 days working 8 hours a day to dekernel all of this corn, and that would primarily be done by taking a stick, you fill bags of corn, or you fill bags with corn, and then you hit it with a stick until you dekernel it. So it's really physical work for 8 hours a day for 8 days.
Y eso fue lo que también me inspiró también a mí y a compartir con otros amigos que conocí para poder generar lo que son las bicimáquinas, porque sabía que eso me inspiraba a poder ayudar a la comunidad.
And so I was really thinking about corn and that labor-intensive process that made me think about about first making bicimaquinas and working with some friends to start making these things.
Esto es que, como les digo, esto nació, no vayan a creer que yo haya ido a una universidad, yo no fui a estudiar a ninguna universidad, ni soy ingeniero mecánico. Lo que ha sido es de que todo se puede hacer, cualquier cosa que nosotros tengamos en nuestro corazón, que no hay ningún obstáculo que nos pueda cortar siempre y cuando lo hagamos con amor y paz y voluntad de poder ayudar a la humanidad.
So I'm not somebody who's studied at a university. I'm not a mechanical engineer. I don't have any really formal education, but I really believe that you can do anything you put your mind to if you have love and peace in your heart and you really have the desire to do something to make the world a better place.
Y dentro de eso también, como les decía, cuando uno lo hace con amor, nosotros tratamos la manera de ver cómo podíamos implementar eso sin perjudicar lo que era la cultura de nuestra comunidad. Por ejemplo, involucrando desde el niño, la señora y el esposo, porque en el caso que nosotros teníamos era muy saludable para nosotros cuando dejábamos la máquina, porque a veces no podían montarse a una bicicleta, pero en escondidas ellas hacían el intento de pedalear de esa manera.
And so something that's really important for us thinking about how we build these machines is making sure that we're doing it in a culturally appropriate way that's not destroying indigenous culture in Guatemala. And so part of that is involving the whole family in the machine. So you can see here, the kids, the wife, the husband, you need to get everybody involved. And it's sometimes we would leave a machine and sort of hide ourselves away so we could see how they would use it. And we would first see women that once we sort of hid ourselves, that they would go and they would pedal the machine by hand, but we'd see that they were interested in it.
Y como podemos ver aquí, si ustedes se dan cuenta, aquí está la mazorca y aquí está el niño que principalmente la niñez es la que es más inquieta para poder manejar las máquinas. Ya la señora estaba introduciendo la mazorca y esa es una satisfacción de alegría, inspiración para que uno pueda hacer una máquina y no generar un obstáculo.
And so here you see the woman is putting the cob of corn into the machine and the child is pedaling it. We always find that children are the best bici máquina users and the best ones at using it. and that we can see that if you really try hard enough, and especially children really give us a lot of inspiration to keep working with these machines, that they're always, that there's no obstacle that you can't surpass when you have people excited.
A través de todo ese tiempo que trabajé y que estoy trabajando todavía, esto también me llenó de inspiración para que poder también enfocarme en lo que hoy era mi deseo, que era realizar lo que es una escuela de tecnologías alternativas, y de ahí es donde nace lo que es la idea de hacer Bici Tec.
So through this whole process of working on this for the last 20 years, this has really filled me with a lot of joy and satisfaction to keep working. And so this is why I really realized this dream that I've had of starting Bici Tec and starting a school of appropriate adult technology.
Y como les decía, Bici Tec nace a través de todo lo que he sufrido, porque a veces he tenido muchos achaques en la vida. Incluso me dijeron de que hasta en mi mismo país me decían, pero vos qué sabes, era como decirme que me cortaban, pero al final yo hice el esfuerzo, sabía que podía hacer algo en la vida.
And so I've been able to create Bici Tec even though I've had a lot of that he's suffered a lot. Sorry, that he's that there's been a lot of times they suffered, and even people in his own country have told him, like, what do you know? Why are you even doing this? And people have really tried to put him down with this idea, but that he's still been able to move forward with it.
Y por eso es que ahora les quiero comentar que Bici Tec ahora es una empresa familiar con enfoque social, que ahora a través de que el apoyo también que nos brinda Bindersbond, que hemos llevado a los contenedores, que es la mayor parte de las ganancias que tenemos para poder implementarlo dentro de la escuela.
And so Bici Tec is a family-run business with a social impact. So they import containers that Bici-Bombs sends them, which is a big part of how they generate profits in the business, and then invest those profits into the school.
Dentro de esto, como podemos ver también, algo que nos ha llenado de satisfacción es que hemos tenido ya diferentes estudiantes de diferentes partes del mundo, como están aquí, que les voy a mencionar estos tres, que es Oscar, que es de Bolivia, Lía, que es de aquí de Boston, y Surian, que es de Brasil. Y así hay otros que son de Kenia, de Tanzania.
So something that makes us really happy is that we've seen students arriving from all over the world. So in this photo, you see, first you see Oscar from Bolivia, Leah from Boston, and Surian from Brazil. Students have also arrived from other countries as well.
Y también que esto, lo que les comento es de que, por ejemplo, para nosotros fue una satisfacción ver que esta persona, este ingeniero que vive en la ciudad, que está industrializado, para él ha causado un impacto en lo que es esta bicilicuadora que está hecha directamente con reciclaje de bicicletas, que es un mecanismo muy simple.
And so we've seen that it's really impactful, where you see here in this photo an engineer who's from Guatemala City, who is an industrialized person, who comes from the industrialized city, that he got on this bicimaquina, this BC blender that's made out of 100% recycled parts and bikes, and that he was really inspired by this.
Y también por eso quisiera decirles también que no tengamos vergüenza de hacerlo como nosotros hacemos nuestra presentación o nuestra máquina, que estemos inspirados, porque a través del fracaso tenemos que tener el éxito. Dice que no hay dulzura si no hay amargura, hay que diferenciar las dos cosas para llegar a un éxito.
And so that's why we're not embarrassed when we go and give presentations about our machines, even if there's failures and even if it's made out of recycled things, because we know that from failure comes successes, and that there's a phrase that is that you can't have anything sweet without something sour.
Y como pueden ver aquí, pues aquí es donde yo estoy tratando de explicarle a los estudiantes para que ellos se inspiren en otras máquinas que vayan relacionadas también al área rural y al área urbana, para que se le dé el uso, porque sabemos que en cada rincón de cada hogar hay una necesidad.
So here you can see that he's teaching students at a different type of BC blender prototype, that to try to challenge students to think about rural and urban contexts for machines, and that we know that in every part of every place there is some necessity that a bicimaquina can help with.
Y por ejemplo, como podemos ver aquí también, que tenemos que tener esa inquietud de colaborar, de cuidar nuestra salud y cuidar el medio ambiente. Por eso es que tenemos varios diseños que, por ejemplo, esta es una máquina que reciclamos lo que es la licuadora y lo que es la madera y parte del propulsor y partes de bicicleta.
So we know that we need to be really careful about our health, and especially thinking about the environment. So we really try to recycle everything that we can. So in this photo, you see a machine that's a burned out blender, and that it also uses tires and trying to recycle as much as we can to preserve our environment.
Y como podemos ver aquí, lo que nosotros también les decía, que es lo que nos inspira y lo que nos llena de alegría, es ver el impacto, ver con qué sencillez las personas pueden usar la máquina y cómo pueden darle el mantenimiento sin necesidad de que nosotros estemos día a día explicando.
And so it makes us really happy to see people able to use these simple machines and in their homes. And something that we really like about them is that the maintenance of them is so simple that people are able to do the maintenance themselves. They don't need us to keep coming back to do them.
Y aquí, como estamos viendo, que también tengo otros estudiantes que lo que están haciendo es sacando un análisis de cómo está construida la máquina, qué partes podemos reciclar y cómo podemos mejorar y cómo pueden ellos ayudarnos a mejorar este sistema.
And so here you see a photo of 3 other students analyzing a corn dekerneler machine, and they're looking at it, trying to determine what are the different things on this machine that we can recycle, what can we improve, and they're looking at it, trying to see if they can make it better.
Y también, como les decía, lo más principal es que nosotros no contamos, como decir, así como una escuela grande, pues hay que ser realista, es una casa muy sencilla, humilde, pero con amor hacia el prójimo. Tenemos aquí, por ejemplo, la enseñanza de la soldadura, que todavía la hacemos con electrodos.
And so, of course, we're not a huge, very fancy school. Like, gotta be honest, it's a small house, it's simple, and we're simple people. But when you can do it with love, that's what really matters. And that they're using pretty simple welding, which is stick welding, or using stick welding, and that's part of what they teach.
Y así es como tenemos también diferentes diseños. Dentro de esto les voy a platicar que tenemos varios diseños, como lo que es la licuadora, lo que es el pulpero de café, despulpador de café, lo que es el molino desgranador. Y hay pues 20 o 30 diseños más que tenemos ya funcionando.
So we have a lot of different designs. We have blenders, like coffee pulpers, like mills and grainers, and there's 20 to 30 designs that can be that work.
Como pueden ver también que esta es lo que vemos, que es otra máquina que tenemos, que es para descascarar lo que es la macadamia. Esta es muy sencilla, es una máquina que siempre contribuimos con el medio ambiente, porque lo que aquí tiran nosotros lo recogemos para darle nueva vida.
So this is a Bici macadamia nut machine, which de-shells macadamia nuts. And you can see that it uses a recycled car tire, saying that what you guys throw out on the street here, we'll take and we'll recycle and make it.
Y esto es lo que nosotros decimos que es simplificar la máquina, porque si ustedes se dan cuenta de que todos los componentes pues, son de bicicleta y tubos reciclados.
So we're always trying to simplify machines. So you can see that this is a very simple design using bicycle parts and other recycled parts. And always trying to just make the design as simple as possible.
Y lo más principal es que también nos enfoquemos, por ejemplo, en este caso les voy a comentar sobre este proyecto que tenemos, que nosotros estamos trabajando ya con universidades en Guatemala. Por ejemplo, les puedo mencionar la Universidad de San Carlos, la Universidad Rafael Andívar, la Galileo, porque también ellos han sido afectados directamente cuando no hay recursos. Por ejemplo, en este caso nosotros hicimos este bicicompresor. Sí, lo siento.
So this is an example of a time when he's worked with local universities in Guatemala. And there's a few different universities that have come to Carlos and asked him to work with them in making different machines. And this was an example of a time when, because everyone suffers when there aren't enough resources. So you have to collaborate to try to make things work. And so this was an example of a dental professor coming to him with a problem to make this Bici compressor.
Este bicicompresor lo que tiene es de que, por ejemplo, la universidad tenía que hacer un servicio de odontología en las comunidades, pero no había electricidad y cómo podían llenar para poder usar las máquinas para poder darle el servicio de dentadura a la comunidad.
So this university, the dental department, wanted to go out to rural communities to do free dental work in the community, but in these communities there's no electricity, so they weren't able to fill up their air compressor when they needed to do that when they were out in villages.
Y lo que nosotros estamos enfocados principalmente, si ustedes se dan cuenta de que las máquinas son muy simples y también que son una fuente de trabajo, que no solo sirven para poderlas usar dentro de la misma familia. Por ejemplo, en este caso, si esta persona pues está en una comunidad y pinchan una llanta, pues él puede generar también sus ingresos económicos.
So we try to make sure that these machines aren't just useful within the family, that you can use it for something, but that you can also try to create your own employment out of them. So in a rural area that might not have electricity, might not have an air compressor that works, you can be the person that fixed someone's flat when the car flaps on your road. So it can also be a source of work and a job for you too.
Y como pueden ver que aquí también eso es lo que nos ayuda a nosotros a la inspiración de poder compartir las ideas, que no solo las hacemos con la comunidad, sino que con todas las personas, ya sean profesionales o no profesionales, pero eso es lo que nos llena de satisfacción, el poder ser una persona útil a la humanidad y al medio ambiente.
So it really fills us with a lot of satisfaction to work with all different sorts of people to collaborate and make machines. So to work with professionals and to work with laborers and everyone collaborating and giving different ideas, and that we're all trying to make a difference for humanity and the environment.
Y aquí como podemos ver que este es un pulpero de café, por ejemplo, aquí les puedo mostrar que a veces para nosotros en las comunidades, cuando un productor o un agricultor tiene su cosecha, gana más el intermediario que el pobre que se está sacrificando en sembrar su cosecha.
So we a lot of times see so this is a BC coffee depulper machine, and something that he sees a lot in his community is that the farmers and the producers, people who are doing all of the hard work of farming, that the intermediary is the one who makes more money at the end of the harvest than the farmer does.
Y por ejemplo, yo quiero poner también ahorita en el caso que tenemos de que la gasolina está tan barata y el problema que tenemos es de que tenemos el problema del precalentamiento, pero nosotros vemos las cosas, pero no las queremos aceptar que las estamos viendo, el daño que estamos haciendo solo con el hecho de estar sacando tanto carro, tanta contaminación que le hacemos a nuestro planeta.
So right now the gasoline is so cheap. It's so cheap and easy to ride your car around a lot of places, to use machines that use gasoline, and that we see the impact that this is making with global warming in the world, but we're still not taking the steps that we really need to be taking to really confront what we need to do.
Y es donde viene la pregunta, por ejemplo, yo les digo a ustedes, ¿qué piensan ustedes que van a hacer en el futuro para el planeta o para ustedes mismos o para nuestros hijos que vienen y que van a sufrir las consecuencias de lo que nosotros estamos haciendo aquí en esta vida?
So what are you doing to confront global climate change? What are you doing both for right now, but for your kids, for the disaster that we're creating for them for the future of what the world is going to be like with climate change?
¿Será que ustedes han pensado de que esto va a ser por el petróleo, va a ser por el oro o por qué? Yo quiero que hagan una reflexión, pero yo sé que principalmente el daño y lo que va a ser la tercera guerra mundial es que vamos a pelearnos por el agua dulce que ya se está acabando.
Is it because of oil? Is it because of gold? But I really think that we all need to reflect and think about these things, because he really predicts that the third world war is going to be because of water and who's going to have the resource of water.
Y es por eso que nosotros también usamos, como le decía, lo que tratamos de hacer es que simplificar las máquinas. Como pueden ver, aquí solo tenemos bolitas de plástico, podemos usar lo que es ya directamente madera, hule y lo que es la llanta de las bicicletas y la llanta de los carros, para ya no contaminar, para hacer conciencia de lo que queremos llegar a hacer. Tal vez no es mucho lo que hacemos, pero por lo menos estamos sembrando una semilla.
You can see that we're trying to make really simple machines, and this is a bicycle water pump, and it functions with this rope that draws up water with beads, and the beads are made with plastic or wood or recycled rubber. That's just it's a simple machine to pump water. He's saying that, what are we doing to confront this problem of climate change? Maybe I'm not doing a lot, but at least I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to plant a seed with other people.
Y como podemos ver que para nosotros ahora la satisfacción más grande es que todas las máquinas que hemos hecho pues no han cambiado lo que es la cultura ni la tradición de nuestros pueblos, que simplemente sigue la mujer y ahora con aquella confianza de poder desarrollarse, que ya no hay aquel de decir que el hombre vale más que la mujer, no, ahora hay un equilibrio y eso es la satisfacción que tenemos que tener todos.
So something that makes us really happy is seeing that by implementing these machines in our communities, we're not changing the culture. People are still able to maintain their indigenous culture in areas, but that you can see with this machine, this woman getting on a bicycle, that the men and women are becoming more equal, and that both the man and the woman can be working on these things, and that it makes them really happy to see women being able to still wear their traditional dress, but to get on a bicycle and pump water.
Y lo que les quiero decir que dentro de la escuela también tengo aquella alegría y la satisfacción que más del 50% de los estudiantes que he tenido son mujeres y que han aprendido con facilidad el trabajo que supuestamente que solo el hombre lo sabe hacer.
It makes them really happy that more than 50% of the students at the school have been women, and that this is supposedly men's work to make machines, but that the women have been some of the best students.
Y por eso también quiero agradecerles. Y por eso también, como les digo, quiero agradecerles directamente a la mujer, porque de la mujer viene la vida, viene la inteligencia, porque sin la mujer no hay esperanza y no hay vida, porque ellos son los que nos traen al mundo y muchas veces uno de hombre no valora lo que es tener a una mujer.
So we really want to thank the women in the room, because women are life and women are intelligence. And that so often men don't appreciate women for all that they do, and don't see them as equals, but that we are all well.
Y como último quisiera dejarles un mensaje de que ustedes piensen un poquito, que pensemos todos qué vamos a hacer, cómo podemos unificarnos para mejorar nuestro mundo, para mejorar nuestra vida, en dónde queremos empezar y a dónde queremos ir. Que Dios los bendiga por escucharme y ojalá que yo no los haya aburrido.
So we want to leave you with a final thought of what are you doing to make the world a better place? How are we going to unify? How are we going to collaborate? How are we going to do more to confront these problems in the world? That God bless you all. Thank you for being here, and he hopes that he has enjoyed you.
Y es que muchas gracias. Gracias. Muchas gracias. Bien, sí, saqué lo que era mi sentimiento, era lo que tenía que hacer.
So our next phase is we're going to have questions. I'm going to introduce a couple of people to start off the questions. Kate Mitty. Kate volunteered with Carlos in 2008. At MIT, Kate is a D-Lab instructor and runs the MIT Create program. Her passion is in contributing to the development of equitable cities as explored through waste management, public space, and local economies. Joining her is Matt McCambridge. Matt is a design instructor at D-Lab and spent many years designing and manufacturing wheelchairs for use in the developing world. And I'm going to add that those wheelchairs are include many bike parts. It's a real resource. Bike parts are a real resource because they're so inexpensive, and they're great for wheelchairs and for the kinds of machines Carlos makes. So Matt and Kate.
Thank you, Carlos. So I started working in wheelchairs when I met a guy named Ralph Hotchkiss in California, who he wrecked a motorcycle when he was in college, and a T4 spinal cord injury survivor. And 50 years later now, he has worked in 50 odd countries, working together with people with disabilities to create mobility technology. What we saw today was bicycle technology being used for fundamental human needs, like food and water. And what I learned from Ralph was that there's a subset of the population that has an additional need, a need for mobility that to them is as fundamental as something like food or water or sanitation or waste. There are so many points relevant about his work to mobility, but I want to talk about just two. First, when we think of products for people with disabilities, we often think about wheelchairs. It's a product that works very well for this environment. But in a lot of places in the developing world, there's an entire other category of product called hand cycles or tricycles. I don't know if people have ever seen them, but it's basically more like a bicycle designed to be operated by someone who uses their arms as a source of power. And it's often appropriate in places where cooking and work and things are done on the ground anyway. And so crawling in the home is actually not an inappropriate means of working, or where, such as Guatemala, where there's a lot of amputees and people are maybe walking with crutches indoors and they need a way to go long distances. Hand cycles are a whole product category. Any of you out here who are a bicycle enthusiasts, I'd really encourage you to think about applying your skills and your passion toward that product category. A second thing, it's very, very hard to mass produce products for people with disabilities in the developing world because people's abilities are so diverse and their needs are so diverse. And what's really exciting about what he's doing is taking the piece of technology that you really need an engineer for, which is to say optimize a roller chain and mass produce it. There's a lot of highly, highly technical stuff in manufacturing roller chain and getting the curve of those sprocket keys just right that you really do need an engineering degree for. And then combine it with another kind of knowledge, which is what are the details of a problem that a particular person is trying to solve. And what's so amazing to me about what he's doing is he's leveraging that sort of engineered technology and using the knowledge of people who deeply understand the problem they're trying to solve to make this kind of combination that neither could do alone. And there's a lot of need for that for people with disabilities. There's a lot of people with disabilities out there that there is no mass-produced product that meets their needs. And making resources like this available throughout the world is sort of how you reach those people. So my question to start this off is, you mentioned maintenance. And that's obviously a huge issue for any sort of technical intervention in a developing country. Is, you know, the world is scattered with well-meaning, expensive devices that broke down and no one could fix them. And I wanted to hear just maybe a story about either something you built that worked so well that it ran for 20 years and never needed to be maintained, or alternatively, something that you built with the intention that someone could maintain it and sort of how that worked out, where they got the parts, where they learned the skills. Just, yeah, tell me a little bit about something how something was maintained for a long period of time.
Bien, en primer lugar, tengo varias historias, pero les voy a contar una, ¿va? Que nosotros lo que hacemos siempre ahora que donamos la máquina es que tratamos la manera de que hasta un niño pueda mantener la máquina, por ejemplo, porque es muy fácil reciclando lo que es el aceite del cambio de motores de los carros.
So he has a lot of stories, but I was going to tell just one, and that they, when they go and donate the machines, they really try to make sure that even the child with the family can maintain it. And that it's also trying to involve recycling into it, that you can recycle car motor oil and you can use that for
Y es muy sencillo porque como ustedes pudieron ver anteriormente en la fotografía que él estaba haciendo, incluso ese niño que estaba pues agarraba un trapito y solo con la pacha de osito que de la miel que también reciclamos para hacer las pachas que usan para la miel. No sé cómo le dicen aquí, pero son botellas de plásticos que reciclamos.
Oh, okay. Oh, los
Sí,
ositos.
sí, los ositos.
Okay, the honey bear things, I guess. Okay, sí.
Yeah. Pues los ositos, nosotros lo que hacemos es simplemente como para, no en todos los lugares hay agujas, entonces con lo que es el rayo le hacemos una punta y le medimos cabal el agujero para que no se desriegue lo que es el aceite ni contaminemos el agua.
So they take the little containers of honey that are shaped like a bear, and they fill those with the recycled oil, and they put a little hole in the top, and they show them how to put on just the right amount of oil, but not too much that you're contaminating the ground with car oil.
Hi, I'm Kate Mitty, and am the last person before you get to ask Carlos lots of questions. Hola, Carlos. I wanted to take a really quick poll and just get a sense of where everyone in the room is coming from. Can you raise your hands if you're from Bikes Not Bombs? Yeah, cool. And how many of you are from sort of the MIT, especially the D-Lab space? Wow, okay, so maybe half of the audience is from BNP or from D-Lab. Would love to hear later where the rest of you are coming from and what stoked your interest in this. And it'd be a great follow-up conversation. So the reason I'm on this panel is because I'm an urban planner by training most recently. That's still a pretty new role for me. But almost a decade ago, I was down in Guatemala with Carlos. I was one of the many faces that I'm sure that he's seen in almost the last decade. And my interest down there, it stemmed a lot from this space of understanding really what it meant to be a maker back before I think the term the maker was really a concept at that point in time. And recognizing that I came from what I was increasingly seeing at the time a very impractical space of education and trying to figure out how does that translate into more practical results. And I think being able to be part of this event has translated for me and made me reflect again on the poignancy of the time down in Guatemala. And just want to connect on a few points. Like Matt, I think there's a lot of overlap between the work that I do right now and Carlos's work. But just wanted to reflect on a few key themes that struck out for me. I think one of them is the nature of work. I think as our economy continues to develop and change, I think we really need to reflect a lot on the nature of work and who's doing that work. What does safety in that work mean, and what are some of the tools and technologies that can be used in that work? I think that's a key point of what Carlos does, whether you describe work as shucking corn or grinding coffee beans or bicycling to work. I think all of those things really change the way in which we are workers. I think the second one is really looking at technology and the nature of technology. I think we're all pretty aware that there's been a divide in the technology that we sort of experience here in Cambridge and the technologies that are prevalent in many places in the world. And I think there's a really big question of how do we make technologies that are relevant and contextually relevant to a lot of different places, and what are the examples of things that are working? And I think alongside of that, you know, for technology, for me, for bicycles especially, bicycles are a mode of freedom and transportation for me. But bicycles, from the examples that Carlos gives, they're freedom of invested time, freedom of labor that's very tedious and arduous at the same time. Also the ease of repair and being able to create technologies that we can interact with as users. I think this is one of the really big conversations that comes up in the waste management space is how do we create technologies that we can repair, given that at least my iPhone and many of the technologies that I use on a day-to-day basis are not things that I can repair on a regular basis. And so I think that question of repair and maintenance is a really big question, as Matt has pointed out too. I think finally it's this space of the value of participation. Carlos spoke a lot about this need to co-design, and it's something that D-Lab values a lot too, is this idea that people coming together to collectively design, something better comes out at the end. And I think that also resonates a lot from a urban planner perspective, because we put a lot of emphasis on the agency that people have in the spaces, the tools, the technologies, and the policies that people live by and that their lives are defined. And I think that's a lot of what Carlos is doing, is thinking about how do we bring people together, both in an education perspective, but also a design and sort of building perspective. So wanted to say thank you for offering that moment for me, but also coming to Boston. I wanted to, before we opened up for other questions, ask you about, to reflect on your time here, especially at this moment in time, and just reflect on some of the things that resonated from your conversations while you've been in Boston and other areas of the US.
Sí, en primer lugar, pues sí me ha impactado bastante. He visto que el interés sobre lo que es la tecnología alternativa, no voy a decir la bicimáquina, de la tecnología alternativa, pues se ha visto directamente que ha crecido. Por ejemplo, últimamente en estos días pues he estado en diferentes universidades dando charlas y presentaciones, y eso para mí pues es un logro, porque es lo que uno busca, ver cómo estamos enfocándonos directamente a mejorar lo que es la vida.
So he's seen that while he's here, he feels like there's been a lot more interest in alternative technology than there used to be, and that a lot more universities are thinking about this, and that he's been going and speaking at a lot of different universities over the last 6 weeks, and that people seem much more interested in this topic of alternative technology than they used to be.
My microphone's back on. All right, thank you, Carlos. And now what we're going to do is open it up. Can someone give me a time check? Charlotte?
I'm looking at
7:10. Okay.
See
So
if we're good.
we've got about 20 minutes that we're going to open up the questions. I'm going to ask that you make sure that they're questions rather than statements. We've got 20 minutes collectively as a collective audience, and then after that, you'll have about an hour to meet with Carlos individually and also test out the various bicimaquinas that are around the area. I encourage you to sort of check out the design and check out the functionality of it. So I'm going to take a few questions just to start so we can be thoughtful of Charlotte's wonderful translating ability at the same time.
Okay, thank you. My name is Wendy. I'm going first in Spanish because I'm from Guatemala. Carlos, me siento muy orgullosa de usted y sus logros, no solo como ingeniero, sino como ser humano que está haciendo un cambio en nuestra sociedad. Quiero preguntarle cómo lo tratan en Guatemala, si reconocen su talento, si hay apoyo por parte de la sociedad guatemalteca.
Bueno, por parte de la... perdón.
This often happens when questions start coming in Spanish. So
my name is Wendy. I am from Guatemala. I'm currently doing a research in MIT in Aeroastro department. And I feel very proud of Carlos, not only for his talent as an engineer, also for the human being that he is. I never heard before in Guatemala about him, and I want to ask him how in Guatemala treat him, about the government, or if he received any support for the society.
Voy a contestarle, gracias por la pregunta. Pues la verdad es que nosotros sí tenemos admiración y aprecio por parte de las comunidades, pero lamentablemente apoyo de gobierno no, porque incluso es un obstáculo para nosotros el poder trabajar.
So he feels that he's appreciated by the community and by communities, but that unfortunately the government isn't just not helpful, but that it's really an obstacle to his work right now.
Okay, I'm going to do it first in English and then in Spanish because I'm Peruvian. And I actually was reading Maximum Not Bombs website, and I saw that you have projects like in many countries. And I really wanted to ask if you have reached like the academic side in South America, because it's really interesting. They are doing bicimaquinas in some universities in Perú. Y ahora en español, decía que yo soy peruana. Y es más, bueno, no lo dije, pero también es en una universidad en Lima. Y he estado viendo que hay muchas universidades que están haciendo bicimáquinas. Y quería saber si es que habías tomado contacto con universidades en Sudamérica. Había visto que Bikes and Not Bombs habían hecho estos proyectos, pero vengo siguiendo tu trabajo desde Maya Pedal y quería saber si es que habías tomado contacto con Academia Sudamericana.
Universidades sudamericanas, ¿me decís?
Sudamericana te pregunto más específicamente porque es lo que más conozco.
Sí, la verdad es que he estado en Brasil, en 2 universidades. Donde no he estado es en lo que es Perú, pero también he tenido estudiantes de Bolivia que se han llegado voluntarios, porque le voy a comentar que durante el tiempo que estuve conocí a más de 20,000 personas, que a veces es un poquito imposible de recordar a todos los que han pasado.
So he's been to Brazil and was for the World Bicycle Forum in 2013, and he was at 2 universities there. He hasn't been to Peru, but there's been a few students from Bolivia who have gone and studied at Bici Tec. But that it's a little hard for him sometimes to separate that that in the 15 years he was at Maya Pedal, like 20,000 volunteers came through there. So he doesn't remember everybody's face who came through. So he's not sure if maybe there's some academics.
Y le voy a comentar algo que me pasó ahora esta vez que vine. Yo tengo un amigo que lo conocí hace 12 años, que se llamaba Jason, que está en Minneapolis. Y él pues me invitó para ir a dar la charla allá, pero él estaba más asustado que yo porque no solo yo me perdí en Minneapolis y lo peor era de que yo ya no lo recordaba. Entonces dije, si lo encuentro en la calle, no sé si lo voy a reconocer o va a pasar de largo. Y entonces, pero al final pues llegué a su casa y estábamos ahí, entonces hasta después de buen rato me empecé a como a memorizar y dije, sí, ya lo conozco.
So he's saying that when he went to Minneapolis and spoke at this organization called Cycles for Change that had invited Carlos. Their executive director, Jason Tansman, had volunteered at Maya Pedal 12 years ago. And Carlos did not remember who he was. And he was lost in Minneapolis, and he was lost on the street, and he's calling me and trying to figure out how to get to this place. And he's like, what am I going to do in Minneapolis? Because if even if this person walks by me on the street, like, I don't remember what he looks like. I don't remember who this person is. And so finally, when he did make it to Jason's house, and they sat down and got to reconnect, then he finally remembered who Jason was, but it took a little while. Lisa.
Quick question. Are you guys doing any work with generating electricity?
Sí, al principio hice unos generadores con alternadores, pero vimos que el problema era muy difícil porque había que generar demasiada inercia para poder cargar las baterías. Y cuando ya está más cargada la batería, se requiere de mayor fuerza.
So he's done some work with bicycle generators before, but the real problem they found was that when you're working with a generator that has an alternator, and I will say that engineering terms are my weakest area of translation, that you need to create a certain amount of inertia? Okay, yeah. And that it's sort of, once you charge the batteries enough, it gets really hard to pedal. And so they discovered that it just wasn't really, that the technology didn't really fit that well.
Y ahorita lo que se ha descubierto, pues que ya no se necesita. El problema era con los cepillos que utiliza lo que es el alternador, pero ahora ya han avanzado más las tecnologías y lo que se ha visto es que solo los campos magnéticos pueden generar la energía.
So for a while when they were working with alternators, the technology of that's really improved, but now you can generate the same power with magnets, and that maybe then that could work.
Thank you for sharing your gift with us. Have you observed any injuries that people get from repetitive use of their bodies in using the machines? And if so, are there ways that you've found to handle those?
¿Te has visto algún daño que te ha hecho el cuerpo de utilizar una bicimaquina o y si has visto algún daño que te hace que si has cambiado la máquina?
Sí, pero aparte de eso, sí, lo que he visto es también la comodidad de la silla, porque también te voy a comentar algo. En Guatemala, por nuestra cultura y por nuestra pues, altura, pues tenemos solo personas de metros 50, metros 60, entonces tenemos que adaptar eso también, porque principalmente en los niños, pues porque son más chiquitos y entonces si no nos dan, quedan en el aire los pies.
So one of the adaptations they made is the type of seat that's on the machines. And part of that is because of culture, with women wearing long dresses, but some of that's also because of height. People in Guatemala are pretty short, and so you need to change the seat so that even children can reach the pedals.
Y también, también lo que le hemos agregado es, por ejemplo, en la otra máquina es un freno, porque la succión de agua sube, ¿verdad? Pero a la hora de que pare la persona de pedalear, regresa todo lo que es el rosario y es muy peligroso para el pie porque fácilmente puede regresar el pedal y romperse. Por eso es que le hemos agregado un freno.
So in the last machine that he showed, which is the water pump, they've added a brake mechanism to the machine because as you're pedaling it and it's bringing up the water, as soon as you stop pedaling, then the whole machine starts going backwards. And if you don't have a brake in it, it can start going pretty quickly as it's going backwards, and then the pedal can't hit the machine and really damage. So that's why they incorporated that.
Just a quick question. Do you ever, thank you for being here, Carlos. Do you ever make machines that take multiple people? You use more than one person to power it to be able to run a bigger machine?
No, yo no he tratado la manera de hacer eso, pero hay una idea para el futuro. Por ejemplo, en el caso del consumo de energía, nosotros estábamos pensando que nació una idea dentro de la presentación que hice en Costa Rica, es que queremos buscar un mecanismo donde podamos poner varias bicicletas en diferentes esquinas de las calles, porque para que también todas las personas, ya sea mujer o hombre o alguna persona con deficiencia especial, pueda pedalear y generar energía y acumularla a baterías para que en vez de pagar el transporte público, que esa energía se use el transporte público y que el transporte sea gratis.
So no, he hasn't done any machines up until now that have required more than one person, but about a month ago, he was in Costa Rica giving a presentation and leading a workshop down there. It was organized by two Bici Tec alums, one of whom is also a G-Lab alum, Ta Corrales. And the students there thought of this concept of trying to have sort of stationary bikes on every corner in San Jose, where sort of passerbys could get on a bike and pedal it, and that the energy would be stored in batteries, and that could power both streetlights and public transportation, and that instead of people paying for public transportation, just everyone would contribute in some way of getting on a stationary bike on that corner to help generate electricity.
Primero, usted nos mostró una cantidad de maíz y nos dijo que necesita una semana de trabajo a hacer separación a sus partes. Con la ayuda de una bicicleta modificada, ¿cuánto tiempo necesita hacer ese trabajo?
Sí, perdón, gracias por la pregunta, pues.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to say it also in English, but just so everyone understands.
Lo hace, por ejemplo, lo que hace en 8 días de aporreado, 8 días por 8 horas diarias, lo hace en un solo día, porque la máquina tiene algo de que, por ejemplo, una persona sin experiencia puede desgranar de 12 quintales diarios, pero una persona ya con experiencia puede hacerlo de 12 a 25 por día, y eso es lo que la cosecha que tiene por una cuerda de terreno.
So it takes 8 days of work, as I said in the presentation, 8 days of work hitting corn with a stick to dekernel. With a corn degrainer, you can do it in 1 day. And that someone who's maybe new to a bicimaquina can dekernel 12 bushels of corn in a day with using the machine. somebody who already knows how to use the machine pretty well and has good flow could do up to 25 bushels of corn a day, and 25 bushels is about what the harvest is of a huerta, which is it's a unit of land. Es una unidad de
Sí. Sí, por ejemplo, si lo va a hacer desgranado, es más tardado. Vamos a, no sé si, lastimosamente no sé si tenemos mazorcas, porque la máquina cuando desgrana se necesitan como 2 segundos para poder pasar la mazorca. Entonces hay una gran diferencia.
So he doesn't know if we have any corns on the cob here. I don't know if we do either, but maybe. But that if you do it by hand, it's really difficult. But that and you'll see this, that when it goes through a machine, it really takes 2 seconds of the cob going through.
So again, is this on? One of the problems with coffee depulping is the concentration of pollution that is created when the red bean is brought to a beneficio and depulped, because often local streams are used to wash the coffee, and the concentration of acidity really creates problems. The beauty of a Bici depulper is that you can take it to the fields and you can distribute the pulp like mulch over the fields under the forest canopy. That happening, and how popular is the coffee depulper?
Do you want to?
Sure, you go. You're doing really good.
But I know that you can translate. Okay. So cuando se lava el café en los beans, que a veces se contamina por el ácido de eso. Se lleva a la máquina a desteparlo ahí en la máquina misma. Se puede echar la pupa y las plantas para
exactamente, para que sea la fermentación ya de la cáscara y eso lo sirva ya como abono orgánico.
Pero dice como que ha sido los logros con esta máquina de café.
Okay, lo primero es de que nosotros el éxito que hemos tenido es de que los caficultores y las asociaciones pues nos han pedido ya directamente otros pulperos de café porque han visto el resultado. Por ejemplo, le voy a decir, el pulpero alcanza una capacidad de quitarle la cáscara de 40 a 60 quintales por día y solo tiene que pedalear, digamos, una persona y la otra que lo está echando. Y se puede regular también el consumo del agua porque ya no es como que esté encendida y sea eléctrica.
So something that makes them happy with the coffee depulper machine is that different coffee cooperatives have come back to ask for more machines after already buying one of them, and that a coffee depulper can depulp 40 to 60 bushels of coffee in a day, and that you need 2 people working it. You need 1 person pedaling the machine and another person pouring in the coffee, and that it uses less water than the electric machine because you're able to kind of regulate it more carefully as you're using the machine.
Y lo otro que usted me preguntaba era de hacia el futuro, pues nosotros ahorita ya con una estudiante que llegó, pues ya hicimos otro tipo de pulpero, ya todo es reciclado, ya no compramos lo que es el pulpero y hacerle adaptaciones, sino que ya todo lo generamos dentro del taller.
And so the future of the coffee depulper machine is really that this last summer a student arrived and they worked together on making a coffee depulper machine that's 100% made out of materials in the workshop, that they don't need to buy the depulper. Sort of the photo you saw of the depulper there was one that adapts what like a mechanical one, but now they can make one that's totally out of just sort of metal, and they make the whole contraption themselves in the workshop, and that is hoping will help with making more information. So what he's saying with fermentation is that when you depulp the coffee with using that machine, you can do it right on the farm because you don't need electricity. So you can depulp the coffee right there, and then you take out the pulp, and you basically like use it as compost with the. You just like put it directly on the plants, and that way, when it begins to ferment, it acts as compost for the coffee plants.
Thank you. So we've got one more question back in the back, and then I'll turn it over to you, Carlos, for your final question towards the audience, if you want to repeat yours. And then we'll sort of open it up, and you've got until 8:30 until the museum closes down.
Hi. Your bicimaquinas are really kind of born of the Guatemalan experience. and Guatemalan needs. And I was just wondering, what application do you think that they could have in countries like the United States?
Que las bicimáquinas que has hecho han sido de tu experiencia para el contexto de Guatemala. ¿Qué aplicaciones ves aquí en los Estados Unidos para las bicimáquinas?
Pues yo quiero, en primer lugar, no lo he visto solo con el contexto de que se usa en Guatemala. Por eso te decía que estamos enfocados en hacer una máquina simple para que se pueda divulgar en diferentes partes del mundo. Otra cosa de que también he visto aquí y es sorprendente para mí es que quiero felicitar directamente al agricultor que está aquí presente, un team, que él está haciendo unos bicitractores para lo que es la agricultura. Y eso es lo que me llena de satisfacción, saber que hay personas que también en países en subdesarrollados, hay personas que están con aquella inteligencia e inspiración de poder ayudar a nuestra gente.
So says, of course, first, he works in Guatemala, so he's always really focused on trying to make machines really simply for the context in Guatemala. So that makes him really happy that, in fact, the person sitting right in front of you, Tim, he has made this really amazing Bici tractor that he's using out in Waltham, and a few different really amazing bike machines for agriculture in the U.S., and that makes Carlos really happy and gives him a lot of inspiration. Keep working on it to see that not just people in the global south need bicimaquinas, but that people in the United States can also be using bicimaquinas. Because of course, any machine that's not contaminating is something that's good for the whole planet.
Y también a Don Win, porque a través de él, pues, y a todos los del departamento de DILA, por la implementación de esa tecnología que han estado implementando aquí en la universidad.
He also wants to thank Gwen and everyone from D-Lab for implementing this, for implementing technology here at MIT and getting people to think about these ideas here in the US too.
And I just wanted to close and say thank you to Carlos. And thank you to Charlotte for so wonderfully translating the entire process. We could all hear it. And just final housekeeping, the museum here will be open until 8:30, so you've got until 8:30. There's some food over here. There's lots of bicimaquinas around the room that I encourage you to try out, test out, and learn about. And Carlos is open for questions.
And
So
I also
thank
just
you all.
want to give a special thank you to the MIT Museum for hosting us here tonight. This is an amazing space to be in. Also a very special thank you to Nancy from D-Lab for helping to make this possible, and Gwen, and thank you for hosting this event with us from Bikes Not Bombs, and really great to have you all here.